Hello everyone,
Take two.
to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan once more.
My name once more is Hayden.
But for everyone listening, obviously that's the first time. I don't know what you mean, Hayden. What do you mean by take two?
We had to stop. We had to stop because I made a comment when Dylan was telling a story and it threw him off and he was like, can we just restart this podcast? Can we just restart this podcast, please, Hayden? Can we just restart this podcast? So we restarted.
You're like that annoying kid when you're trying to teach and they just have their hand up like flapping.
Yeah.
Flapping. And you're like, okay, yes. My mum said that tomorrow I'm going to McDonald's. Oh my God.
Can we just restart this lesson, kids? Can we just restart this lesson, please?
Well, all I'll say is, if that's what it's like when I interrupt you, I'm bloody sorry. Okay, I'm bloody sorry. Because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to get your words out.
Oh, the tables have turned.
They've turned massively. So anyway, welcome. We're back again with another episode. This week, we always get worried, don't we, Hayden? I think that, yeah, we like to talk about these things that are sometimes a bit taboo, but that we're a bit worried sometimes that what?
Oh, you said taboo, sorry. Go on. Carry on.
That sometimes we worry that it's like negative.
Yeah,
I know anyone who actually listens to the long form podcast, which are you guys, I think you get the full picture and understand how passionate we are and how much we love teaching. We just like to talk about the problems. When we post reels online, it's 1 minute. There's hardly any context. And I think a lot of people kind of just pick up on that. Maybe it's a bit clickbaity, but they're like, oh no, actually, I think that's awful. And it's like, I need more than a minute to explain my thoughts on this. It's quite complicated.
Yeah.
So I think today we're going to go way more positive. And I'm really looking forward to diving into that. But obviously, as always, this week, Hayden, we spent another week in school. How's it been?
It's been a lovely week. I've got one thing I really want to. We're getting into the habit now where I'll actually save things to talk to you about on the podcast, right? Rather than just talking to you in the week like we do all the time. So this week something happened, and I really want your opinion on it.
Yeah.
What you laugh at?
I'm still laughing at you going, can we start this podcast again? Can we start this podcast?
Can we start again, please, everybody?
Go on, I'm sorry.
He's happy now. He's all right.
I'm
He's interrupted
fine.
me, done the same thing.
Yeah.
I did that to him in the last take, and that's why we restarted, by the way.
The difference is I explained exactly what I was talking about, whereas you just went, Ugh.
Ooh, someone's got his back up, isn't he?
Not at all.
Feisty.
Not at all. Anyway, co-host.
So
assistant to the host leader. Off you go.
thanks, Dwight. My class,
Mike.
my class this week, they got themselves in trouble. Not with me. They were being covered by one of our TAs, and they were just generally quite rude to the TA. And so obviously they had a bit of a speaking to, like, come on, you can't just treat different adults differently, which I think is a thing in schools, isn't it? Like, I think the kids know there's a bit of a hierarchy somewhere, and they do just treat people differently. If the head teacher comes in and teaches a lesson, the head teacher always thinks, wow, this school are great. Like, the class is so well behaved. It's like, yeah, because you're the head teacher, mate. Like, of course they're behaving for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, the week before, the class for me and my job share teacher had been great, and we'd kind of been like, if you do good things, there's rewards, guys. Like, we don't just, we will encourage you to do good things. So I said to them, right, class reward, guys, you've been so good today. We're going to do 5 minutes of extra play next week. They're like, yes, that's so good. And I was like, we're not at the end of the lesson yet, though. And so it's encouragement to keep working. And then obviously I found out, and I wasn't there, that they were a bit misbehaved, right? And so I said to them when I came back, I was like, well, we're not going to do that class reward now, obviously, because I can't. I said, would it be a good thing if you've just been horrible to someone else and then I just take you all out for extra 5 minutes play that no one else in the school gets? They're like, no. And then one of the kids challenged me, and it really made me think, I am just wrong, and said, what about all the kids that didn't contribute to being horrible? Like, we were just doing the right thing. Do we still get the reward? And it was that moment where I was like, my honest feeling is, well, yeah, you should.
Yeah.
But it was at that point where I was like, yeah, but I don't know. It's hard to track precisely. And I know you've got opinions on class rewards and class punishments. So I kind of wanted to bring you in here. Did I do the wrong thing by even promising a class reward in the first place? And did I do a double wrong thing by taking away that class reward from the whole class because something happened that was more than one child, so it kind of got, put onto the whole class?
Yeah. It's a weird one. Thinking about your exact situation, I think it's different to if you just went straight for a blanket punishment. So with your situation, you started off by saying, wow, the class as a whole have done amazingly well. You're going to get a reward. Okay. If we stopped there, did every single member of that class do as amazingly well as each other? And were there some people who probably didn't necessarily deserve it because they didn't go above and beyond, they just did what they should have done, but they were going to get the reward anyway. Yeah. So in that respect, you are rewarding children who didn't necessarily deserve the award because you're highlighting the fact that lots of them did something well.
Maybe sorry, maybe like 6 children did something really good, and that made me feel like, the whole class is doing so well, but actually most people
realistically, most probably didn't go above and beyond. But you were still going to reward the whole and have like a team and maybe dangle a carrot to say, look, if we carry on doing this, you can control this and we can all get a reward. That's always sounds much better. But when you break it down, you are rewarding children who don't deserve a reward. Okay? So,
Right.
But when you do it with a negative connotation, that's seen by a lot more people as awful. So if you would then have 6 people who were behaving really badly and everyone else was okay, but again, weren't going too far and pushing the boat out and being naughty, let's say, then if you just said, right, everyone's in at break time, you'd obviously get a lot of backlash, I think. But realistically, on paper, they're not too different, I suppose, are they? In terms of you're still rewarding or punishing people who don't deserve the reward or the punishment. I would say I always err on the side of I'd rather be positive, and I would rather reward people who don't deserve it than punish people who don't.
Yeah,
and that just comes down to like the justice system we have in this country, where you have to be absolutely sure someone has done something wrong and is guilty before you can actually say they're guilty. And I think that's where I stand with it. Is blanket punishments I try and avoid at all costs.
Yeah.
I would say in your context of the class have earned a reward for going above and beyond, but then the class have let themselves down, it's probably more acceptable to do what you did. But I think in general, even though it's easier to treat the whole class as one entity, I don't necessarily think it's helpful or in the long term a good thing to do.
No, because for that one kid in the class who I bet there was one kid in the class who, 1, contributed to the reason the class got the reward in the first place, and 2, didn't contribute to the class being naughty. And for them, from their journey, their perspective, it's like, I did all the right things and I wasn't even naughty in the second one, and now I don't get this reward.
Yeah, and you're fostering like anger, aren't you, in terms of that child will feel like they've earned something for the class that feels amazing, and then someone else has taken that away from what they did.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just funny because it just, when you sometimes get really challenged, just and you can let your ego win, and you could just be like, don't question me, child, and I don't want to be that teacher ever. But I felt really awkward because I was sort of like, I didn't really have an answer.
What did you say?
I can't remember. I can't remember. It was I fobbed it off because I didn't know what to say really in that moment. I was also like, I was just leaving the room. Someone else was in there, and I was sort of like, and I was like, it's a good point. I said, but I didn't have. I think I actually just was honest with them. I said, that's a really good point. I said, but I have no idea who it was. And I've just been given a report that the class have treated an adult not very kindly, and they've not had a nice time with teaching this class. I don't know exactly who it was, but it was enough people to warrant us not getting this reward, and I left it at that. But really, I was thinking, absolutely, I think the system should always be individuals. It should be on an individual basis. Like, we have like a smiley, a very simple system, like a smiley face, right? It's just like, all these people, we're going to put your names down there because you've been amazing. Like, you specifically have done something in this class. You are going to get a reward regardless. But anyway, that was just a little thing I wanted to get your opinion on, so I appreciate that. How's your week been?
Good. I mean, a standard week in school. Anyone who's teaching knows it's just it is getting relentless now. Like we said, heading towards the end of the term. But I had one kid, and it just for me summarised why teaching's good, and it's kind of linking to what we're going to say later as well. But I just had this moment where I was like, this is something you don't get in any other job ever, and you'll see why. We were just doing a lesson, and I can't remember what the lesson was, but we were just doing a lesson. And it probably says a lot, the fact I don't even know as the teacher what the lesson was. But one of the kids put their hand up, and it was in no context whatsoever. We were just talking about what we were doing. I was halfway through delivering the slides, and he put his hand up, and I was like, yeah, because usually this kid's someone who asks a good question. I was like, go on then, let's have a question. And he put his hand up, and he went, can I sing the Match of the Day theme tune to the class?
What is it? Was it related in any way?
Nothing. It was like geography or something. Can I teach? Can I sing the Match of the Day theme tune to the class, please? And I stood there at the front, and I went, yeah.
Did you? It blew you away so much.
Yeah, I was like, okay, come on then. Because the kids needed a bit of a brain break.
Right.
Clearly. Because this is someone who works really hard, gets on really well. And honestly, it was a bit of a red flag to me that he was just like thinking about wanting to sing the Match of the Day theme tune. So I was like, okay, let's take 5 minutes, guys. Let's have a break because the afternoon's long. I was like, I made the choice as the teacher. I was like, okay then. Because we weren't doing work. We were just discussing stuff. I was like, okay, let's have 5 minutes. He came to the front. The Match of the Day theme song, for anyone who doesn't know, there's no lyrics or anything. Right. It's literally just duns in like a different level of tune and stuff. So he came to the front And he started going dun 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 dun, and he just did the whole thing. Slowly, the class all join in. They're clapping. And he goes all the way to the end, and then then they were clapping him. Obviously, well done. He went back to his seat, and I'm not joking. The kids literally went, oh. And then just like turned to the slide. I was like, should we carry on? And they're like, yeah. We just carried on.
That is the most bizarre thing I think I've ever heard happening in the middle of a lesson. Like at the end of the day, maybe? In the middle of a lesson?
And there'll be lots of people who say, what a ridiculous thing to do. And honestly, to those people, I say, I don't care.
What a waste of learning time.
Yeah, I just don't care. Do you know what? It was funny. It was cool. He loved it. He got in front of the class and did a performance.
Yeah.
When do we ever get to do that, really, in this curriculum and stuff? I know it's nothing to do with what we're doing, but we still did the lesson.
If the head teacher came in, what would honestly have been your reaction in that moment?
Honestly, right now, at this stage in my career, I'd have hoped that he joined in.
Yeah.
Do you know, honestly, I'd have been like, hey, we're just doing a theme tune. I would not bat an eyelid.
And trusted that you were not just wasting the entire afternoon. He was just thinking, oh, they're obviously just doing something. There's obviously a reason this teacher's allowed this to happen.
Yes,
because we trust our teachers.
Yeah, it wouldn't embarrass me. It wouldn't make me think I'm doing something awful. Yeah. Like you said, because I know I'm making choices in that classroom where they're still going to do the lesson.
Yeah.
If I was 1, 2, 3 years into my career, do you know what? Honestly, I probably would have said no to him. And it probably at that point in my career would have been the right thing to do because I didn't have the confidence enough to think, well, I can bring them back after this. It's fine. Then halfway through my career, it probably would have been something I'd have been confident enough to do, but not confident enough to say to SLT, this is why I'm doing it. Now I'm in that third stage where I'm just like, of course you can. Come on, deputy head. Come on. Let's all join in and do the Match of the Day theme tune for 30 seconds. And then carry on.
That's brilliant. Speaking of, just a really quick to add on to this story, our deputy head, Australian accent. You know, I like to do accents.
Yes.
Our deputy head is Australian, and he once came in to my lesson, and I was just mid doing Australian accents to the kids for no reason. And he came in, and it was one of those moments where I was like, "Oh, I got a split decision in my brain here. Do I get embarrassed at the fact that I'm trying to do his accent essentially, or do I just double down and carry on?" Of course, I doubled down and got involved, got him to rate my Australian accent in front of the kids. But that's the power of having an SLT that actually are just human beings and understand. It's like, of course, he didn't get offended. It's an accent, for Christ's sake. Like,
and trusted you.
Yeah.
And trusted you to be like, you know what, you're obviously going to do this lesson.
Yeah.
I know you're not.
You're still at the board doing something. Like you're obviously just trying to engage these kids because it's whatever you're doing is boring.
I'm actually really excited to crack on with this chat actually about teaching, because it's a big thing we're getting a lot lately in the comments about. Okay, well, you know, we've talked a billion times. Why don't you just quit? And I'm like, okay, do you know what? We're going to do a whole episode and tell you why teachers who complain, who moan, who say this is unacceptable, who say this part of the job's awful for them, why a lot of teachers stay on the side of not quitting. And I'm looking forward to getting into that. But there is one thing you said you wanted to mention and talk about.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was worth talking about. It was World Mental Health Day. So obviously, for when we're recording this, it was World Mental Health Day yesterday.
Yeah.
And I just thought, come on, we're a podcast now. We speak to a lot of people. And I think it's good to reflect on it. So I just want to ask you, being real for a minute, because we joke around a lot.
Yeah.
But just a real reflection, just on your mental health. How are you doing at the moment? It's like you said, it's a long term. We're 7 weeks into this long term. How are you doing right now?
Yeah, I am genuinely good. And like, I think there are points where I haven't been good, like mentally. Like
this term or
this term, to be honest with you, a couple of weeks ago. It's I feel like with teaching, being in term time is quite often a roller coaster. I feel like you can feel on top of the world if you feel like you're on top of a lesson and your class are doing really well and you feel like you're on top of your workload. It can be a real high. You can feel, get a lot out of it, and we'll talk about that again later. There are points where you can feel really behind, like you've got 5 million things to do and nothing you do is eating away at that list, and you don't feel like it's making much progress despite the time you put in, and that's frustrating. A big thing for me personally is I talked about this actually, like you said, in terms of how am I. Me personally is one of my like 3 pillars that I talk about in terms of my well-being, and when I feel good about myself, and those 3 things are my family. So Rory and being at home and helping out and with Lauren and stuff. School, I want to make sure my kids get the best possible chance they can because I'm their teacher at the end of the day. I want to give them everything they need and deserve. And me personally, looking after myself. And when I feel bad or have, I guess you'd call it like a mental decline in health, is when personally what always seems to happen is it's my pillar that gets strained.
That's the one that gets knocked down.
Because then to me, that's the first thing I should go to sacrifice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I'm not going to sacrifice anything to do with Rory ever. Like I don't want that to ever get sacrificed. And if that does, I'd feel 10 times as bad. I don't want the kids at school to feel like they're not getting a good deal out of me when I'm there.
Yep.
We can talk about everything, all the frills and stuff on the outside, but when I'm literally with the kids, they need to be safe, and I need to give them all of my mental capacity whilst I'm in school because they need to be looked after. If those two take up too much time, it's me that doesn't actually look after myself. I don't give myself time to do stuff anymore. That's when I get cranky. That's when my mental health seems to decline personally. But I'm currently in a good balance.
Yeah, I mean, I could say it's funny you said that because that's very much what I see of you. So even a few weeks ago, you said to me, you literally said to me, you were like almost crying out. You were like, "Hayden, can we please just go and play snooker for 2 hours because I feel like I haven't done something for myself in a month."
Yeah,
and I could see you were genuinely struggling a bit and being like, "I just need honestly a couple of hours to escape from reality for a bit and just do something for me."
That's why I love sport. That's I'm obsessed with sport. Anyone who knows me, that's my big thing. I like to watch sport, and Manchester United is not helping with my mental state right now. Let's be honest. But most of all, the thing that has the biggest impact for me is playing sport.
Sure.
Because when I play sport, whether it's snooker, darts, football, golf, any sport, the reason it's good for me is because it clears my head. And the only thing I'm thinking about whilst I'm doing it is playing that game.
Yeah.
So if I'm playing snooker, I'm just thinking about where's my next shot? What can I do here? If I'm playing football, I'm completely engrossed in the game. And that pushing out, and it sounds awful, but pushing out Rory and pushing out my family and pushing out work, that is really powerful for an hour or two to just level my head a bit.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's overwhelming. And no matter how much you love your family, how much you love your job and impacting children, you're just as important. And when I force time for that is when I feel better. And I think that's really important. I want to say to everyone right now, it's something we said a million times about the job. Have non-negotiable time for yourself, because when I slip on that is when I feel worse.
Oh, but Dylan, to be a teacher, you can't be selfish. You have to be a martyr.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we've said it a million times, it's nonsense. We're going to talk about the amazing parts of teaching in a minute. And like, the flip side of that is you can lose yourself in it. And that can be really good. It can also be really detrimental. And we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, I think me personally, I'm good right now. I played football the other night after Roy went to bed. Amazing. I played snooker last night with my friend. We caught up, had a little chat, played some snooker. Felt great. I feel completely fine right now. I feel on top of things, which is good.
That's good. On top of things is important, isn't it? I think that finding that balance with work and home, it's got to be done.
How about you?
Yeah, I think you made a really good point, and a lot of the things I try. I do take a lot of inspiration from your mindset, because you are really good at just being honest with yourself and separating work from being at home, and you're really good at being like, nope. If I go home and do more work this evening, I am going to be stressed and therefore unhappy and miserable. And you're really good at just being like, nope, not doing it then. And I do look at that sometimes. I think, I need to do more of that, and I do try. But I've always struggled with, particularly, I don't know what it is about teaching, but like mental health for me, it's just up and down. Like I feel like I'm always a few steps ahead of that little devil in my mind that's just trying to pull me down. And I've often found, I think I've said it on this podcast before, I don't know if anyone relates to this, but I've often found that in school holidays, my mental health drops massively, like especially summer holidays. I don't know what it is. I just find myself just going right down. Maybe it's the lack of routine.
I was going to say, is it routine?
I really don't know. Purpose, perhaps. And again, that's something we'll come on to because it is such a fulfilling job, and then being off for 6 weeks. I don't know.
I've got a question on that very quickly. Did you find that was exacerbated earlier in your career compared to maybe this was the first summer with River? With your daughter, was it? Did you feel it was slightly different, or was there still elements of like, oh, this is lovely, but I am missing this part of?
It was different. Yeah, this was the first summer where I didn't really feel it that much, which is interesting, and I was going to reflect on that. But generally, in my whole 10-year teaching career, I find like I get really down, like really, really down in the dumps by this sort of the end of the school holidays. And then in this term time, I convince myself, no, I'm desperate for a holiday. And I have this constant battle of like, well, what do I want? Because when I'm in the holidays, I get down. And when I'm at work, I think I'm down because I'm so stressed with work. So for me, it's just, I've started to recognize my stress signals now. Like finally, I'm not very good at recognizing when I'm stressed. I really don't like get it. And I've realized like, I just get heart palpitations. I know that sounds stupid, but that is my body's way of being like, you're stressed, by the way. So I've really started to recently just stop and be like, oh, I should actually listen to it, keep that pillar up of myself and be like, it is important though that I am just healthy. So probably when I get heart palpitations, I should just stop and relax for the evening. So I'm really trying to work on my mental health right now. I think it's tough in this job. I think you have to be on top of it. I think we're both trying to do that at this point in our career, is actually take it seriously. But I definitely did not take it seriously for, honestly, probably the first 8 years of working as a teacher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For me, it's come with age as well. And experience, and just being like, oh, that worked for me. And I think a lot of people know it works for them. I genuinely do. I think a lot of people know that they feel good when they do X or Y or Z, but they convince themselves that they can't do X, Y, or Z because this is more important, and giving to someone else is more important. I saw a really nice reel from Charlie, Teacher's Health Coach. I talk about him quite a bit, I guess, but I think what he posts online is really good stuff. And he essentially did a reel, and it was all truth, and it was just about how you have to look after yourself. Like, it's almost as if like you're your best friend.
Yeah.
It's like, would you treat someone else the way you're treating yourself right now?
Yeah.
You will always show up for maths in the morning to teach the children. You will always show up. I will always show up to bedtime for Rory to bathe him, to make sure he's happy, to make sure he's content, and put him to bed.
Yeah.
Will I always show up for myself? I don't.
No.
I let that slip. And if it was someone else, I'd make myself do it, because I'm like, oh no, I need to do that because I've agreed with this person. I've got to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to value yourself at the same level, and it's not arrogant. It's not self-centered. It's just as important as your relationships with anyone else. In fact, you know what? It's more important. Your relationship with yourself is the most important thing, because when you go to bed and lie down at night and close your eyes, it's just you. You're in you are you. That sounds like a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
You are you. So if you don't look after yourself, what's the point? Genuinely, it doesn't matter what you do for everyone else. Has to start from you, and that's something I found. And if it means some people think you're arrogant or selfish sometimes, cool. They're not you. You're you. So look after yourself.
And everyone's different. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good. Thank you. I'm glad we reflected on that. I think it's important.
I guess we should just stop this podcast now and go play snooker.
yeah. I love how this podcast though is kind of like part of our release.
I don't want to say it's therapy, but it's like therapy.
Yeah, well, it's
sometimes.
just, and sometimes we are venting.
Yeah.
That's where we get scared that it's being a bit negative. Like the last few episodes, we had a bit of a vent, and we've had a lot of new listeners recently, so we're a bit worried that they're coming in and only seeing these episodes where we just like go, we hate this and this, and actually there's lots of things we love. So we're gonna move on now to a conversation about those things, but the things that we love. So let's play the jingle and come back.
We've talked a lot lately about how many people leave the profession, and it's a big problem, and we highlight issues with the job. And the first thing I wanted to say to everyone listening now is the reason we do that is because we love teaching. If we didn't care, we would have left years ago. We clearly care about this job. We love doing it. So I thought what we could do this week, Hayden, is really just switch up the mindset, switch up the perspective. And instead of saying, so many people are leaving, there's a problem, like there must be so many more thinking about leaving, let's flip it. Why are so many teachers who think they want to quit and get to that point where they're like, I've got to stop this? What's stopping them get over that point? What is making them stay behind the line? And you know what? No, I'm going to stay teaching because...
Yeah.
What are the reasons?
I think the pessimistic side of us before, I think this is where we've been maybe wrong. Before we would have said, it's just because they're too scared to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't think that's the whole reason. Right?
Yeah, no.
And it also doesn't account for all the people that just aren't even thinking of quitting.
Exactly.
the hundreds of thousands of teachers that are 10 years, 15 years, 20 years into their career, and they're not even thinking about quitting next year. They're just fulfilled in their job. Let's talk about it. So we've got a bit of a list of some things we want to go through. Should I just jump in?
Yeah, jump in. Let's go. We'll talk about it.
So first reason I think people stay in this job is because it's the kids. I know it sounds cliche, right? The kids, but let's dive into it more. It's the relationships you make with the kids. Like if you worked in any other job, the relationship you make with the staff around you, that everyone has like a work bestie. You make relationships with the people you're with. Well, for us, we spend most of our time not actually with other adults at all. We spend our time in front of a bunch of children, and the relationships that you make with those children are real. It's not serving a customer at Tesco. When I worked at Tesco, I did not make the relationships with those customers like I make with these kids. And I had some nice customers as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I made some relationships, but it was nothing like the depth of relationship that you make with these young children who look up to you as sometimes like a hero. Like some of these kids adore you, right? And you make these beautiful, real relationships with these kids. And I don't think there are many situations or jobs in life where you can make such a meaningful, real relationship with someone in your job and go home and feeling like, wow, like that's so real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely. And it's it's the biggest driving force. I think it's what I love going into school for. Do you know what? I love it when I go in the morning and I've set up my room and I've sat at my desk and the whistle goes and the kids start coming in. That's one of my favorite points of my whole career is that first 10 minutes when they walk through the door. Nothing to do with actually, making them progress in their ability to do adding. That's important. I know that. But my favorite thing about the job is when 6 kids walk in, right? One after the other. They're saying something different. One of them just smiles at you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's nice. One of them goes, Mr. Price, have you had a new haircut? No adults say that to me. Do you know? And I'm not expecting adults to go around and say, "Oh, Mr. Price, get a haircut." But the fact that they come in and say that, "Oh, looks cool, looks good." That's nice. Next one walks in and starts talking about their hamster and has brought in a photo of their hamster from home. These kids want to share stuff with you.
Yeah.
And that's indicative of the safety they feel with you in the classroom. And the idea that I can provide that to these kids and build that relationship with them where they feel like they want to share this kind of stuff with me is invaluable. It feels amazing. There's nothing better.
And it's so genuine. I think that's the thing. You made a really good point, right? If an adult came up to you and said, "Nice haircut," honestly, at this point in my life, knowing how manipulative everyone is.
No one said that to you, mate.
Yeah. Someone said that to me. I'd first be thinking, "What are you talking about?" Secondly, if they gave it, honestly, part of my brain, no matter who it was, would be thinking, "What do you want?" Honestly, genuinely, like if I'm at work and my boss
You
is going to
cynical man.
I would though. I would be thinking,
or it's just a norm.
Just a norm? Or I better do that. I better tick a box. I haven't been nice. Maybe because we've come from schools where that is literally all that happened with SLT. It was like mindless.
Previously.
Oh, we better pretend to care about our staff for a bit. It's like that's literally what our workplace was like. And maybe I'm a bit cynical because of that.
Yeah.
But with kids, it is like, that doesn't cross my mind. No. There's nothing. They just want to show you that picture of the hamster. They just want to say that you've had a haircut because they noticed it.
Yeah.
And they don't want anything from you.
No.
They just want to have a real relationship. So those real relationships that you make with those kids are special. They are like heightened versions of relationships you might make elsewhere.
And the ultimate version of that is, people always say this, if you go to anyone in the country, pretty much, if you say to them, "Who's your favorite teacher?" They could be 25 or 75 and they'll go, "Mr. Jones."
Yeah.
And they'll still call him Mr. or Mrs. They'll still call her by the teacher name. They'll still say sir.
Even though you're an adult now.
Yeah, even though you regress back. And every single person who talks about who their favorite teacher is, they will never say they were my favorite teacher, because the way they made me remember Henry VIII's Wives was beautiful.
Yeah. They taught me column edition, honestly, unreal.
Yeah. What they will say is they made me feel safe, happy, they were funny, they made me enjoy a lesson, they made me love it, they sparked my passion, they sparked my creativity. And this, as from our end as teachers, that is invaluable. And it's not something I don't go about my day thinking, do you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to have an impact where this child in 50 years' time remembers me because I want them to remember me. No. All you're thinking about as the teacher is, in this very moment right here, does this person feel safe, welcomed, accepted, enjoy their time in school, want to learn? If the answer is yes, I've done my job, I've built that relationship, it's the best thing ever.
And it feels great.
It feels great.
It feels great. So there is a part, isn't it, serving the community is kind of what we're getting at here. It's a public service job at the end of the day. And there is a satisfaction in the fact that you are serving the community. You are serving that class of children, those future adults. And you are having a huge impact on the people they become. And there is an intrinsic feeling of greatness from doing that. That's another reason I think that people stay in the job.
It's almost like it does lead on from that relationship you make with the kids. So what is the impact of that? Well, the impact of that is you can teach them more. You can make them make progress in certain aspects of their academics.
Yeah.
Okay. You can have an impact there. How much we can talk about, but there's definitely going to be an impact. You can have an impact on their social skills. You can have an impact with how they treat other people. And then when they're older, and like you said, recently you've been seeing some people in the shops and stuff. When I'm not saying it's just teachers who teach kids manners, because it's not, obviously, but you play a big role in how children see professionals. You're their first port of call for what a person doing a job looks like.
Yeah.
You at home, they're more relaxed. They have certain things. They go to school. Oh, Mr. Price, he looks this certain way. He treats me like this. He treats me like this.
Yeah.
I'm not. He's not my family member, but he treats me as if I am. Like he shows me love and affection, and he shows me, that he cares about my outcomes, and I appreciate that. And when I grow up, I'm gonna try and pass that on. I think it's a big point of why I became a teacher. Was I had such a positive experience in school. I had a lot of teachers who I felt like did a lot for me because I wasn't a naughty child, but I reckon I was a difficult child in terms of I always wanted more. There was never enough stuff for me to get done.
You were the why?
Yeah, I was the why kid who asked a million questions.
Yeah.
And there were people at school who could have just been like, oh, this guy, get out.
Yeah. Stop asking,
but
I told
you.
you.
I don't want to go out to break time. I want to do this, please. No, just get out. I've told you, stop asking. Instead, what they did to me when I was at school was they said, okay, let's see what we can do. Let's find you something inside. And that accommodated me. That made me feel happy. That made me feel seen again. And I think that intrinsically is that idea of service. I like paying that back. And I love the idea of giving back to my community. And that gets lost in what we've talked about recently because people just see us talking about money, see us talking about pay restoration, see us talking about got to pay the bills, and they just get angry and be like, how could you say that? Listen to me talk for more than 2 minutes. Because I promise you the number one thing that I love doing is serving people and helping them.
It's fulfilling. And I think that everything we've said so far can kind of be captured with this idea of fulfillment. Your purpose. You feel as a teacher, you feel like you have a real purpose, and there are other jobs where you feel like you have a real purpose as well. But there's also a lot of jobs that I know because I have friends that work in all sorts of industries where their biggest gripe with the job is they're like, oh yeah, I get paid well and I kind of enjoy doing what I do, but I just don't feel like I've got a purpose. Like I'm not fulfilled in what I'm doing, and that is not something that is lacking in teaching. So that fulfillment, but something else, I guess, more on a selfish side point of view, I guess, but it's still important. It's a reason that people love the job. Is it's actually genuinely just fun. It's hilarious, like being with the kids. Being with the kids. I knew you could see it coming in there. There are elements to the job, and we're not going to go into it too much today because we've talked about it in millions of episodes.
70 other episodes.
Listen to our episodes if you want to hear about the reasons teachers are actually quitting.
All
right, because I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about the bits that we love. And when we're with the kids, we're in that classroom. It is genuinely hilarious. I laugh every single day. There is never. I can honestly say there's not a day in my whole career where I've been with the kids and I haven't ended up cracking up at something. And specifically because I'm with them. Something they've done or something I've done to try and be silly with them that's end up making myself laugh. But you just laugh and have so much fun with the kids. And I think we need to remember that. That is a reason that I want to get up and go into work. It's I've got to mark those books. It's going to be so annoying. I've got to do that before I go. But I am going to get 6 hours with the kids. And that's going to be hilarious.
And as a teacher, you control that in terms of that time with the kids can be quite dour and it could be quite boring, and it could be because maybe you're feeling under the weather that day and you don't have the energy to do that, and that's fine. But from our point of view, I know you're the same as me. I make it my mission during that time with the children that they love it, and they get a lot out of it because that's a separate part of my job. They're obviously going to get lots out of it in terms of learning, but you know what? Just as important as that is the kids love it. And small things you can do as a teacher, which honestly transform my day a little bit. It's just little things, playing a little game in your transitions where the children will come in the morning to me now. And honestly, they'll say to me, when we line up, can we play the 21 game? And I'm like, you are excited to line up. Okay. Just because when we line up, I said we can play a game.
They probably wanted to come to school today because of that.
Yeah. Well, they walked through the door and it was the first thing they said, can we play the 21 game? For anyone who doesn't know, you want to use this. I know people have heard of 21 before, where between two people, you can say one or two or three numbers. Whoever says 21 loses. This is a different game. Right. So this 21 game, you get the children to line up. It's amazing because it's just, I love this game so much. You get the children to line up and the rules are the teacher starts by saying 0 and you need to count up to 21. Sounds easy.
As a class. But
the rule is only one person can say a number. You're not allowed to talk to each other than saying numbers. It can't be in the order of the line. And if 2 or more people say a number, you go back to 0.
Right.
So obviously, the first time we play this, I go 0, and 20 of them go 1. No, we've got to restart this. 0, and then 10 of them go 1, and then it just goes on and on and on. Eventually, you get someone who says 1, and then 20 of them say 2. It's like, oh, guys, no.
But they latch on, don't they, to the first person? They're like, that's the one. That's the one guy over there.
Exactly.
That person says 1.
Yeah, and that's what you've got to do with them. And but the whole point is, though, the kids become so engrossed at that point that you're having fun with them. They're having fun.
Yeah.
We're lining up for lunch. This game takes 20 seconds. And it's just those small little things where that attitude as the teacher, the person in control, that shift can transform how much you enjoy your time with your children. I've taken something that's really boring now in my class. It's something I look forward to.
Lining up.
Literally. And I think that's basically, it's almost summarizing what you're saying there, because the person I am, I don't think I could get as much joy and fulfillment and just enjoying my life, because work is my life and it should be enjoyable. I really, really, really struggle to see as a teacher what I would do instead that would remotely come close to that fulfillment. Time, maybe, because I don't have to do the extra stuff. Maybe that's a conversation people have where they choose, that's worth it for me. I really, 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 really struggle, and I think a lot of people do. The reason I'm staying in the job and the reason I'm still doing it after 10 years is because those 6 hours are magical, really.
Yeah. No, it's a really good point. I think fulfillment and variety in your day is kind of what you're getting at as well, like doing different things every day.
I want to talk to you about variety because I always flip-flop on this, but I think you're absolutely right. I think it's one of the most, the job's full of the most variety you can possibly get. And I think variety is the spice of life, and that's a reason why people stay in the job. But like someone looking in might go, what do you mean variety? Every single day you do maths and then you do English, and then you do an afternoon lesson. Yeah. It seems like there's no variety in this job whatsoever. So break it down for someone who's either in teaching and is like, oh my God, or someone who's out of teaching and goes, what do you mean variety? Why is it so good?
The chaotic routine of school is what we're talking about here. Yeah, because you're right. There is a routine at school. There has to be routine for the children and us. It would be mad to not have routine. When I'm talking variety, I'm talking you're dealing with 32 children. They are not the same 32. Every single day, the dynamic is different. I think that's what we're talking about. The variety and the dynamic of your day. You deal with different things. Different things happen within that routine that require different skill sets from you and different reactions every single day. You know, a kid might come in upset one day. That might not happen the 6 days before, and you've got to deal with that. And then actually, internet goes down in the afternoon. You're going to go and do something different. You play that game at lunchtime today, but you didn't play it the day before. You give you class and reward this week, so they did something great, didn't do it the week before, we had to practice lining up. Every day is really different because you're constantly reacting to the needs of the kids, but whilst also maintaining a routine for them and for you. So it is interesting, isn't it? Because it's not variety in terms of randomness, it's variety in terms of within your routine, anything could happen. And every day is different. You're not just repeating the same exact thing over and over and over again. You're not even teaching the same lessons. Like, the routine is maths. You're not teaching the same maths lesson as yesterday. In fact, you probably won't teach the same maths lesson all year. Like, realistically, you're going to do something different each day. And that's great. Like, I need that. Yeah, well, a lot of people talk about this, and you've seen it probably online a lot in Reels. It went a bit viral, this whole thing about how teachers make more decisions each day than a neurosurgeon, like a brain surgeon. Wow.
Like,
big claim.
It's a huge claim, and I didn't feel icky about it because maybe it's true, but I was like, let's not compare what we're doing to brain surgery. It always made me feel a bit like, come on, guys, let's help ourselves a bit here. There is a line, and I would say being a brain surgeon is, I think, a lot more complicated than what we're doing. Let's be honest. But the point was, you make a lot of choices as a teacher. You get that decision fatigue. You get home, you just want to just like relax and not even think about anything. But I think it can be a positive, like you're saying, that constant decision. Because I'm speaking from experience. When I finished university, I took a year. I did a history degree, so it wasn't primary school. It was just a history degree. So I came out of university. I was 21, and for a year, I went full-time at Asda while I decided what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So during that year, what I started off doing was applying for graduate jobs. Right. Just run-of-the-mill graduate jobs, literally, honestly, whatever was out there. I was like, I'm a graduate, I've got a 2-1 degree. Is there a scheme I can get into just to try and get a job? And I went for this interview process in London. It was like a whole day. And then a bunch of people got chosen to be placed somewhere in a graduate scheme, all different companies. So it was like a central recruitment hub.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Placed you in different places. And I got placed in this headhunting. So, placing people in jobs, basically. And it was to do with...
Wait, sorry, you were going to become a headhunter? Like, you were doing that job? You weren't headhunted?
No. Well, kind of, but a bit of both. I went through the whole day process of interview. Yeah. And they said, cool, you've passed this. We're going to place you in this company. You're going to become a headhunter.
Right, okay.
And that company's job was to place people in tech jobs.
Yeah.
So if you had C# and all this like JavaScript and all this kind of stuff, you would find the candidate on your books, place them in a job and say, oh, would you be interested in this job?
Got you.
It pays this. It's a 6-month contract. They'd say yes or no, and that's what headhunting is.
And then that company would get like a bit of a cut for finding the person.
Exactly.
And that's how you get paid.
A commission. Exactly that.
Okay. Yep.
And the way it worked was I was going to do a week. I had to do a week just to see if I liked it, to see if they liked me, see if we got on. Really nice guy who ran it. who ran it. Who run it. I became a teacher, by the way. Really nice guy who ran it. But I was 1.5 days in. It was Tuesday lunchtime.
Yeah.
And I went into his office and I said, I'm going home.
Where's
sorry.
the marking?
Yeah. But I was like, I'm going home. I can't do it, because that was lack of variety.
Yeah,
that
really.
was completely different to what teaching became
That's
for me.
so funny, isn't
because it was, honestly, for 8 hours a day, sat at a desk, picking up a phone. Hi, I've got this job. No, okay, no problem. Bye.
Yeah.
Hi, I've got this job. Oh, you are interested. Here's all the details. I'll email it over to you. Can let me know your email. Okay, thank you. Bye.
And that was
Hi,
it.
I've got this all day.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, do you know what? This is one of the reasons why I struggle now, I think, because teaching has that variety.
Yeah, yeah.
And even though that headhunting job was £9,000 more starting salary than teaching. So anyone who comes at me and says stuff about money and all that kind of thing, like, no. I could have done this job and within 5 years been on 50, 60K.
Yeah.
That was the projection. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I did not want to.
wasn't
Everything
rewarding.
we're talking about, it wasn't rewarding. There was no variety. It was boring.
Yeah.
For me personally.
Someone else might have enjoyed it, but yeah, but the people that stay in teaching, we're a certain type of person. And yeah, that's a really, really good analogy, I think. You know, I've told my Tesco story many times, but it's a similar sort of thing. I just didn't. It just wasn't the job for me. Yeah. I'm sure I could have had a nice, easy life, but I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't get that fulfillment, and that's really important to me. Another point we wanted to make is that escape from reality, and I want to dive into that a second, because for me, escaping from reality is like diving into a good TV series,
right?
Playing a really good game with a great story that I want to play for a little while, that kind of thing. And I genuinely find, I don't think I'm exaggerating here, that when I'm with the kids, I get the same level of like euphoria, genuinely. Like I've totally escaped reality when I'm mid-lesson, and every part of my brain is thinking about is like balancing teaching the kids the right thing, making sure they're happy, enjoying themselves, they're learning. I am so away from everything else in my life that it is just like watching a TV series being in a game, because I really, really genuinely enjoy it. I don't know if you're the same.
It's called flow, isn't it? It's that state of flow.
Yeah.
So we learned about flow. Flow is where you're really good at something. It's challenging enough that it's not boring. It's not hard enough that you can't do it. You're an expert in what you're doing.
Yep.
You're in flow. And that's almost what I spoke about before in terms of when I'm playing football. I'm in flow because the only thing I'm thinking about is playing the game. Nothing else comes in. Pure enjoyment, satisfaction. Yes, I'm concentrating on something. Yes, my mental load is quite high because I'm thinking about what I'm doing, but I'm not overworked. I'm in flow.
Yep.
I don't think about time. Absolutely with you. When I teach, I get into a state of flow.
Yeah.
Where one of the biggest things it took me years to perfect was my pace in a lesson because of this fact. We'd get into flow, we'd get into a discussion, we'd go, oh my God, yes, let's do that. Oh God, no, you've only got 5 minutes to do your task now.
Yeah.
That happened a lot to me at the start of my career because I would get into that state of flow. And escape from reality, there's two ways to frame this, and I want to get your thoughts on maybe someone listening to this who frames it a different way to you. So the two ways to think about work, and I've heard about this a lot lately actually. Two ways to frame it as an escape is, like you said, an escape from reality. Something where you can really dive yourself into, put everything into it that you possibly can, and it works for you because you get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I'm escaping from that reality.
Yeah.
And the other framing is, it's just a distraction. It's not getting to the root cause of why you need that. Okay, right. And it's this idea of like, distraction. It's a distraction, but you're not solving that problem. So eventually the problem's going to rear its head again. You're just distracting yourself from reality. So what would you say to someone who frames it slightly differently in terms of, you're saying it's an escape, it's a good thing?
Yeah.
And someone else saying, well, it's just a distraction. You need to actually fix the reason why you want this distraction. Or this
That's quite a deep question. I'm actually struggling to understand the difference, really.
Well, one is saying work, it's just a positive, just go into that. Don't worry about reality. You're just away from it. Cool. Yeah. Work really hard. Dive into work. Get everything you can out of it. And don't worry about reality. It's fine because you've got this thing you can go on to.
Yeah, sure.
The other way is just saying that is just a distraction, though. And actually, you shouldn't just be trying to distract yourself and dive into it. What you should be trying to do is actually, what's the reason why you want to escape from reality in the first place? That's
a deep question. But I think I don't really have an intrinsic problem with my reality. That's the problem. It's just that in reality, real stuff exists, like chores. I don't have a problem with doing them, but they're not fun. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, on the same level of like, when I do something fun, it's because it's fun. I know it sounds stupid. Like when we go and play snooker, it is an escape from reality. I don't have a problem with reality, but that is like like a euphoric state because I'm just having pure fun. I'm not doing any chores and things right now. I'm not worried about just something I've got to worry about at home. And what I'm trying to say is I'm just comparing that same euphoric state that I get from my actual hobbies. I'm comparing that to being in front of the class.
Got you.
Like I'm saying, teaching is so good because it's actually not far off that same feeling. And I think part of that comes from, and this is where maybe teachers are divided, and I'm not speaking to the masses here, is because I genuinely love the subject. So when when I say this, I'm thinking about maths. Like that's the first thing I'm thinking, because I love the subject maths. I loved maths growing up. And when I got into teaching, really, it would have been my dream job to just teach maths all day. And I love teaching maths. And I've learned to love other subjects as well over the years. Like I do enjoy teaching English now, whereas I didn't at the start.
Do you think it's because you've got better at it?
I think so, yeah. I think I've got better at it and I'm feel more confident with it. And I found a way to teach English that I like to teach English where the kids enjoy it just as much as when I teach them maths.
Sure.
So I guess that, maybe there are teachers out there who have gone into the job for all these other reasons we've discussed, but don't have an intrinsic love for like a particular subject. Or maybe it's like history, but they only get to teach that like once a week. Who are listening to this thinking, I can't really relate. But for me, I think because I have such a genuine love for the subjects I teach, and particularly the core subjects that we teach every day, it allows me to escape and be like, well, I love playing this game. I love watching that TV series, and I bloody love maths. So I'm going to really enjoy teaching that, plus all these other things. I am going to really enjoy myself for this next hour, being in front of these kids, teaching them this maths lesson.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, isn't it? One of the reasons when I trained to become a teacher, I think I've told the story before, you have to get some time in a secondary school and a primary school. And I was really torn between either becoming a secondary school history teacher, because that's what I did as my degree, and I love history, or a primary school teacher. I didn't know.
Just a quick one. Did you have to get time in secondary school? Because
I had to do a week. I had to do a week in both.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, when I did my PGCE, they wanted you to do a week in both.
Is that because you did a specialist in
Probably,
maths? No, I didn't do that.
I was a specialist.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to do that. I'm interested.
But yeah, I had to do a week. So I went to my old school, and I think I shadowed a history teacher, and I was like, this is cool. I like history. Fine. I went into primary school, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And I can still teach history, but I can also teach maths.
Yes.
And it was huge. And what swayed me in the end was I can do a maths specialism course. I love maths. I did maths at A level. I didn't do it at university, but I can go back to maths is what I love. And I can teach maths. But do you know what? In this option with primary, I'll also teach history, which I really enjoy. I like getting lost in history. Yeah. And I guess this is another point I want to talk about. Again, I'm someone, I love trivia, I love quizzes, I love knowledge, I love learning. This is why I think I gravitated to teaching, because I love being in a place where you can learn things and you can help other people learn
I know,
stuff.
Dylan. How many quiz shows you been on?
Plenty. 4. Four.
Plenty, 4.
Four, exactly 4.
5, isn't it?
I won 2 of them and I lost 2 of them. But anyway, I love learning stuff. And as a teacher, a big thing for you learn a lot.
You do.
It sounds crazy, but you and I both know we did a quiz round the other day, and there were 15 random questions in this quiz we were doing, and I honestly think 12 of them we could look. Honestly, 12. We looked at each other and went, "Well, we've taught this."
Yeah.
There was something about ancient Maya. There was something about Roman numerals. There was something
Henry VIII's wives.
Henry VIII's wives, and I was like, we literally teach this to children like as our job, and you learn a lot passively, and you get a lot out of it, and that's something I really enjoy. I like teaching a subject because, firstly, you might have a kind of idea, but as you're planning stuff and as you're researching it yourself to deliver to the children, you learn lots yourself and you broaden your horizons. And when we say it's really important to broaden children's horizons for them to learn about different cultures, well, that's coming through me as the teacher, in which case I'm broadening my horizons at the same time. So you become more of a well-rounded person, I think.
And is there anything more sweet, right? After all of this already enjoyable, right? And then at the end of your lesson, a kid makes it clear that they didn't really like that subject before you taught it to them, and now they love it. Like, there's just so many layers in this job. Like we've already talked about fulfillment, but that is kind of like another branch, isn't it? Kids actually like enjoying a subject, a whole subject, because of the way you've taught it to them is such a sweet feeling.
I can summarize this literally this week, and I think I've told you this story because it really made me laugh.
Sure.
I taught a lesson this week on lines of latitude. Imaginary lines around the Earth going horizontally, just so we know where someone is on the Earth, and the fact that as you get further north or further south, it tends to get colder. That was literally the lesson. Okay, it was just about lines of latitude. And I remember we were getting towards the end of the lesson, and I said, guys, we're nearly finished. Let's just crack on. Come on, let's just finish this. And you know what? It looks like we might have half an hour at the end of the day. We can read our class book. We can get on with it, and we can really enjoy that book because we're just going to get this lesson done.
Is this because you were thinking, oh, this lesson's boring?
I honestly thought to myself, as the teacher delivering it, I was like, I'm really struggling to inspire during this lesson on lines of latitude. It's not like the story of the Anglo-Saxons invading or something. I was like, okay, gosh. Yeah. So we got the atlases out. I was trying to make it as inspirational as possible, but they love looking at maps and stuff. But at the end of the day, we are just talking about the tropical Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle. Like, it's a bit dry. And this one girl put her hand up. I went, no, I'm loving this lesson. Aww. I love this lesson. I want to do this all. I want to do this all afternoon. And I just thought, okay, brilliant. That's you're delivering this lesson on lines of latitude, and this girl is saying she absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
Guys, if I was in a different job in the corporate world, delivering a slideshow on the profit and yield for the last quarter, do you think someone would put their hands up and go, no, I don't want to leave early. I'm loving this. I'm loving this presentation on yield and profit. Of course not. And that's what you get with teaching.
The shareholders might.
The shareholders might, yeah.
The CEO.
Depends what's on the presentation.
Yeah.
But, yeah, of course.
Nice.
This is what you get from this job. Pure, unadulterated joy and wanting to learn stuff, and you get to cultivate it. It's so nice.
Quick thing on lines of latitude, just going off subject. You've done this really nice point. I'm just going to bring it down a peg. One year I was teaching longitude and latitude.
Sure.
And one of the kids, I didn't know what to make of it at first. I was like, is this probably the right thing to say? No, like, I remember it's lines of fatitude because it goes around the waist of the earth. And I was like, and I was sort of like, probably shouldn't encourage that, but
you do remember.
It does. That is a good way of remembering it, isn't it? Now in my head, honestly, it's infiltrating my mind. I'm like, which one's longitude and latitude? I'm like, latitude, okay, goes around the waist.
Do we help you?
Yeah, go on then.
Latitude literally rhymes with flat.
Flatitude.
Flat lines.
You got flatitude or a much more one that's on the line of being like horrible.
I think let's go for the not horrible one.
yeah.
Lines of flatitude.
Yeah, flatitude. I like that.
There you go.
And the other one is the other one.
The other one's the other one. Exactly.
I teach so much stuff like that, by the way. like the homophones, you're and your. I always whenever there's stuff that's two.
Yeah.
I'm always like, well, just learn one of them.
Yeah.
And the other one is always the other thing.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
I find that when it comes to it's, I'm just like, right, guys, can you say it is instead of that word? Yes, an apostrophe. No, the other one. Yeah, because the other one is like, well, it's a possessive pronoun, and it's like if you're and as soon as you say that, the kid's like, what? I'm like, okay, listen, kids, can you say it is?
It's not that one.
It's the other one then without the apostrophe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's the good thing with apostrophes for homophones.
But I don't think there's a problem. I don't think there's an intrinsic problem with that. I think it's great to learn the things, but also in life, like, you do need shortcuts. You are remembering a million things at a time.
Sorry, lines of latitude. Do you know what they are? Let me spend 3 seconds Googling it. Oh, they're the flat lines. Like, I'm not even joking. In real life.
Yeah.
Real life, if you're not doing a trivia quiz, if you're not on The Chase, right? Yeah. If you're on The Chase, okay, you kind of need to know that. If you're just a functioning member of society, okay, does it really matter if you know whether a stalagmite goes from the floor or the ceiling? No, because I'm never actually going to use it.
Yeah.
And what you're learning about it, it's cool. You're fostering a love for curiosity, a love for finding things out. One or two kids might get completely inspired, end up being geographers when they're older. Brilliant. It's worth learning stuff is good for the sake of learning stuff sometimes. You don't always have to think, what capitalist outcome can come from this? Because are you going to do a job at the end of it? Then it's pointless doing it in school if you're not going to get a job at the end of it. No. You can learn things because you want to show the love of learning.
Just interesting.
And it's interesting. And it's about the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Cool. But also, if at the end of that lesson, not all 32 children can retain for the next month that the stalagmite is this way around, do you need to think about it and worry and put in place lots of interventions and, oh my gosh, you need to know exactly what these words mean? Do you know what? No, you don't. It was the process of learning that was the important thing. Leave it at that, move on to something else.
Enjoyment of the subject.
Exactly. It's not like reading. If they can't read, they obviously need to have some help. Because you need to be able to read to function in society. If you don't remember who Augustus Caesar preceded, so what?
Yeah, just Google it.
Literally.
Yeah, you're right. Because in English, actually, these things they do just need to know. They do need to know the homophones. They do need to know it's and it's. Because you know what? We write all the time. We write all the time. Genuinely in every walk of life, you write stuff. So you do kind of just need to know the basics and actually just remember it and get it right. And
mnemonics are fine for doing that.
Yeah.
You know, we don't. Not everything has to be beautifully broken down at every single point.
And also,
you can just remember stuff.
Just going full circle, it's also fine to just remember one of the things and know the other one's the other one. Like bear and bear. That's my favourite one.
Yeah.
Like a bear cupboard. I always think, the lack of something is bear, and everything else is BEAR. The animal, all the other stuff is just bear. Like, there you go, kids. That's how you do it. All right. Am I going to go through all of the different homophones of bear, B-E-A-R? Not really. Just remember that B-A-R-E is like bear, lack of something. Everything else is this one. Done. And it's just, there'll be something that breaks the rules somewhere, I'm sure.
Hayden, I can't bear it.
Yeah, B-E-A-R.
Because it's not the lack of something.
Not a bear, though. Anyway, we've lost it. We're going off one. But do you know what? Look.
Yeah.
We've kind of, I hope we've redeemed the negativity that we've had in some other episodes. Yeah. We've talked a lot about really the fulfillment of the job. That's everything we've said so far. Realistically, is about this job is enjoyable and it makes you feel a sense of fulfillment and you feel good going home and you're making an impact on kids. And all of those reasons are reasons that people stay in teaching. But there are some other reasons I'm gonna say because I'm the guy that brings up money all the time. Yeah. But the pension.
Yeah,
I have to say it. Yeah. Like, I mean, most perks of teaching have been eroded over the years, and the pension used to be even better.
Yeah, it has been eroded.
It used to be better, but the pension scheme in teaching is still extremely good, and better than most jobs that will give you a pension or private pensions. Yeah. So that is, one thing. If I was ever to leave teaching, and I'm sure people that leave teaching do think about this, it's like you're sacrificing an extremely good pension.
Yeah, the contribution is huge compared to what someone has to do.
Yeah,
it does go above and beyond. It is a huge part of someone's choice if they're thinking about leaving.
Yeah,
because I think, again, we've been quite idealistic to this point. I think the fulfillment thing, the percentage of this episode we've talked about fulfillment, I genuinely think is the percentage of the reason why I'm still teaching.
Yeah,
but this last bit is important. Because at the end of the day, we've said it a million times before, maybe this is going to get clipped into a reel and someone will go, well, you're just the capitalist Scrooge. What do you mean talking about money? It's like, well, I'm talking about money because we live in a capitalist society.
Yeah.
And the pension is important. And a big part of the perk of being a teacher is you get an amazing pension.
I've got to pay for this studio somehow.
Exactly. How on earth can we get this lovely soundboard that we see at the back of the room that is just absolutely nothing to the sound? It's important to spend that money on that, Aiden. It's really important. But yeah, pension's important. And it's a huge reason. Again, if you move jobs, or become self-employed even, you lose everything. You don't get employer's contribution anymore. You are your employer.
Yeah.
Like you don't get it. So it's a really, really powerful thing. And even though it has been eroded, and when we talk about things like pay and pensions and we say it needs to be put back up, when someone says, well, it's good as it is, I'm just like, yeah, it is good as it is, but it's worse than it used to be. So I'm just getting less for no reason. And I don't like that fact. And you've said it yourself before. That mentality is just, oh, well, everyone should be just paid the same then, shouldn't they? It's like, no. Teaching is hard. It's a profession. We've trained for years. We spent thousands of pounds to learn how to do it. We're trusted with over 30 children in a room to make progress with them.
Who are literally the next generation of adults. Like
it's a very important job, and it deserves remuneration that matches it. It just winds me up.
Yeah.
That person who talked about, he's living rent free in my head, the little troll. I don't know. It's annoying me that he is. Yeah. But
you do it for the fulfillment, Dylan.
Yeah.
But also we need to encourage like more skilled teachers to come and do the job properly. It's like, what do you want? Like, do we accept the capitalist world that we live in, where actually if we want to attract really high skilled teachers, we need to pay them really well, or are we just going to say no? They should just want to come do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, they don't do that because they're going to go and earn 80k as a quantity surveyor. They're not going to come and teach you history for 40k. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, it's a capitalist mentality apparently to suggest that we should be paid better. So that it's capitalist to say that other people in jobs that I deem less important, because I'm saying how important this job is and you should just know that's important and have fulfillment, that should just pay your bills. It's very capitalist for you to suggest you should get more money. In fact, my mindset's much better, where the other people doing the less important jobs get twice as much money. That's really, you're such a capitalist for wanting the same as, what are you talking about, you idiot? That's capitalist what you're saying. Let someone who just makes money make money, and the important jobs just get mugged off because fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like, it has to come as a package.
So that one Instagram comment we got that one time, that's what we think, all right?
It just, I'm sick of this capitalist mentality.
Yeah.
I'm arguing against capitalism. I'm arguing against the fact that the private sector in these jobs, which we all accept, including you, saying this to me right now, you accept that teaching is more important than, I'm going to say it, being a chartered surveyor. Okay? I know this. You should get the money you get. I'm not detrimental. I have friends who do this job. This is why I can say it. It is important. It is important though, because you're making buildings, have contracts that are safe and stuff. Okay, fine. But let's not pretend that everything we just talked about in this episode is therefore makes what we're saying now relevant.
Yeah.
The pension's important. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. It's a good part of the job.
Yeah. It is tiring hearing people say, people would listen to that last 50 minutes and be like, Well, there you go then. That's why you're doing the job. Stop asking for more money.
Yeah.
You get fulfillment, and that's worth more.
Yeah.
It just doesn't pay the bills. Like at the end of the day, it is great. But I tell you what isn't great is if I couldn't pay my mortgage and I had to, to move out. Like those things wouldn't be good. Like there needs to be a balance. There has to be a balance. At the end of the day, if you want teachers to stop quitting, if you want teachers to work more hours than they get paid for, there's got to be some sort of remuneration further than it feels good, doesn't it? It's like, it does feel good. I tell you what, it felt good 20 years ago when teachers were paid literally 50% more than they're paid now, like for the same job.
Real terms,
it felt good then, and it feels just as good now. But what doesn't feel good is the lack of pay. But there we are. We're not going to be too negative, are we?
No.
We're just going to.
I don't think it's negative to say that either. So I think we've been very, very honest in this episode, and
there are
a
lot of reasons that people stay in this job.
People are probably shouting right now and saying, "Hello." The biggest reason I've not left yet is because of the salary. And we'll just very quickly touch upon it because it links to what we just said. The salary for teaching right now is a good salary. I do not expect anyone who quits teaching, I don't think anyone else does, to walk out of teaching and just pick up a job on the same amount of money. It's not realistic. We understand that, and the salary is good.
Comparatively, it's good.
Yeah, comparatively. When we're talking about the salary, we're talking about pay restoration. We're talking about the fact that when we say we want more money, and we're not actually just saying we deserve more money because we're teachers and we deserve more money. What we are literally saying is we want the same buying power that the exact same profession had 20 years ago that's been squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. That's when we say more money, we mean restoration. We don't mean above and beyond. We mean because of inflation compared to what we've actually got through austerity when we got no rises at all. We have been squeezed.
Yeah.
We just want that buying power back to put this job back on the pedestal rather than this move that we seem to have where less money for the job, requiring less qualifications for the job, because instead of trying to solve the retention crisis by putting money where the professionals are and putting the best people in for the job, what they're saying is, well, we'll solve this. Do you know what we'll do? We'll keep the pay low, but we'll make it much easier to become a teacher. And you don't need to have as many qualifications. Is this an important job or not to have qualifications?
Has it got less important over 20 years?
That's what the actions are suggesting, in my opinion.
But everyone says it's not. No, and teaching's just as important as it was. Okay, pay me the same then. That is it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I think it should be a high-paid job. I'm not afraid to say it. I think it should be a high-paid job. Simple as that. Like there's not actually a problem in saying, oh, who do you think you are? You're worth more. No. We all think it's a really important job. So therefore, just like other really important jobs that are paid much higher, it should also be a high-paying job. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
That's what I think anyway. But there we are. So lots of great things about teaching. Lots of reasons that make it extremely hard to quit. And I will be honest, in my career, there have been times where I've thought to myself, is the stress, is this all worth it? Like, should I just go and get another job, take that pay cut? And it's these kind of things that we've discussed today where I'm sort of, I battle in my mind where I'm like, oh, but these things it does make it hard to make that decision. But you know what? There's a lot of people it's not making the decision hard for, and the government have got a real problem with solving it. So, I don't know. We'll discuss that more in another episode.
I appreciated that chat.
Yeah, it was nice.
That was good.
Positive.
I liked being passionate because, you know what? We bloody love it. We do love it.
Fantastic.
Nice one. Guys, see you next time. Follow us on Instagram. Oh, and by the way, if you've got this far, go on, give us a review, please. We're nearly at 100 on Spotify. It really helps us out. And we'll see you again next time.
Bye.